Okay, everyone, I think we're ready to get started. So this webinar today is an opportunity for you to find out a little bit more about our Young Economist of the Year competition, which is sponsored by KPMG UK, to ask any questions that you might have, and to hopefully hear from our amazing winners of last year's competition. So we have Harriet, Neha and Medha on the call, who won in 2024 with their amazing submission. So we'll hear from them as well. We also have a bit of information from another of our sponsors, which is the Financial Times, about some of their resources that might help you with your entry as well. So it'll be really quick. Any questions you have, please do put them in the Q&A and we'll try and answer those today. If we don't get around to answering them today, just for time or because I might not have the answer right now, then I will post those on our website. And also, if you think of anything after the call and you want to get in touch, then you can email me on discovereconcomms, that's COMMS, @res.org.uk. And I'll put that in the chat in a little minute. So we're going to get started and talk about the competition. So it's a competition that aims to get young people thinking about economics, basically. You do not have to have studied economics before. We'd love to hear from you if this is your first time thinking about economics, because that's the whole point of it. We think it's an absolutely brilliant discipline. We think it's got so much to offer to your life and to the world in general. And we really want to get you excited about it. So we're hoping that you'll have a think about some of our contemporary economic problems that we've come up with this year. And we'll go through those questions in a second. So the competition is aimed at students in year 10 to 13 or equivalent. So if you're in Scotland or Northern Ireland, then you hopefully know what those are, but those are on our website as well. So, and that's just for students in the UK. So England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland. And what we'd like you to do is to produce your own ideas and come up with your own solutions to these problems. So the more creative, the better, but the core of your argument has to be economics. So there are 5 questions this year that we'd like you to consider. The first one is, what are the economic consequences of a falling birth rate and what approaches can be taken to mitigate these? So we know that we have a falling birth rate in many countries in the world, and that will have an economic impact. And so we want you to think about what might that be, what might the future look like with a falling birth rate, and how can we plan for that? What are the drivers of wealth inequality in the UK and how can they be addressed? We've seen rising wealth inequality in recent years. What is causing that and what can we do to fix it? The third question is, what are the economic effects of tariffs for consumers, businesses and global economies? You possibly heard a little bit about tariffs coming out of the geopolitical landscape with international factors at play there. The fourth one is about aviation expansion, and will that allow the UK to achieve economic growth and meet our climate commitments simultaneously? So obviously there is a little bit of tension there between the growing aviation industry and our commitment to reducing carbon emissions. And finally, how can economics explain the high price of a supercar? So you only have to choose one of those questions. And we'd like you to submit your ideas. So the way in which you can do that is in written or media format. You could choose to write a 1,000-word blog. It doesn't have to be, really formal essay style. We do ask you to reference, so you do need to see your sources, but we don't really ask for that to be any particular style of referencing. There is a how to reference video on our website so that you capture the important information. So that's a 1,000-word blog is the first way to do it. Just nice written. You can add graphs in if you like, diagrams, that's all fine. They don't count towards your word count, but 1,000 words for the word count. Alternatively, you might choose to do a podcast or a video, and you can be as creative as you like with these, but they should be no longer than 5 minutes in length. You might then choose to also upload a Word document with your references on, because you do still need to reference if you've done a podcast or a video as well. Okay, so on the entry form, which you can find on our website, you'll find all that information. It's very, very self-explanatory on the form. And you can upload a document with just a link to a YouTube video is probably the easiest way to do it, or a podcast on YouTube. And then you can also upload your references if you've chosen to do a video or a podcast. Please don't include anything that shows who you are, your name, your school, anything like that on your submission. It just helps us to keep it all anonymous and make sure that we're being as fair as possible. However, if you do accidentally have your name on the document title, please don't worry about that either, because the chances are we don't know who you are. So ideally, no personally identifiable information. You can't use any AI. You can't use things like ChatGPT or any other forms of artificial intelligence, because we will run it through a checker and we will just disqualify those entries, because obviously that is unfair. As we've said already, you have to cite your references. So any material or information you've got from other sources, we do just need you to cite those at the bottom. And if you're looking for a little bit of information, if this might be the first time you've ever referenced, that's absolutely fine. We don't expect it to be perfect. We do just want to hear, where you've got your ideas from. And that's not included in the word count. So there is a how to reference video for more guidance on our website. If you go to our website, go to About and Young Economist 2025. All of this information is there as well. So the website is ready for you now. I mean, the competition is open. The Enter Now button will take you to the form. You might just want to have a quick look through that before you get started, just so you know what information we're asking for. And you've got quite a long time to do this. You've got till the end of the 29th of July. So basically midnight on the 29th of July, 2025. That's Greenwich Mean Time, so in the UK. What we're going to do now is we're going to hear from last year's winners. They're going to tell us a little bit about their experience, why they entered, how they found the process and what they gained from it, and any advice that they might have for you. So, listen carefully, because obviously these guys did really, really well. They got fabulous feedback from the judges, and their wisdom will certainly help you with your entries. So I'll hand over now to the girls from Tiffin Girls School.
Hi.
Hello, everyone.
So I'm Harriet.
I'm Neha.
And I'm Meda.
Okay, yeah. So should we go from why we decided to enter?
Yeah, sure.
So I think one of the reasons was I was interested in doing like an economics related degree at university, and I thought this would be a great opportunity to like just not only something to put on like a super curricular on your say UCAS application, but also something to delve into like a new topic and really understand like maybe the concepts that you're maybe learning at school if you do like economics A level. And I think all of us really, really liked the question of the gig economy, which is the one we picked last time. So because we were all interested in it, and we were all like interested in like a certain area of it, we thought it would be great to like get together as a group and to
Yeah, I think what's quite funny in my experience is that coming into this, economics was not my favorite subject. And so we were actually assigned this topic, like these girls can attest to this as well, but we were assigned this competition as like part of our classwork. And so we looked at all of the topics individually. And when I came to the topic of gig economy, I think what we all agreed on was that it's really important to find something that you have a passion about. And we all happened to really be interested in looking at the creative industry and how that tied into the gig economy. So for me, I think it was once I found something that I'd be really interested to write about and really interested to spend quite a lot of time researching about, that's when I decided that it was worth entering, even for someone who has no interest necessarily in like pursuing economics in the future.
Yes, like Harriet and Neha said, we found the topic of the gig economy really interesting. Me personally, I didn't know a lot about it at all before we did this competition. So it was a great learning curve, and just to like learn more about the gig economy is something I just didn't know much about before.
In terms of the process, it was undoubtedly so much fun, but it cannot be denied that there was a lot of hard work that came into it. It sort of got split into, I'd say, three sections. The first bit was submitting our 1,000-word essay, which was coming up to the 29th of July, whatever equivalent it was for us last year. And I think we didn't necessarily, it all came together quite quickly, I think, but it was a lot of effort and it was a lot of time invested. And obviously it was worth it for us. But it was, yeah, I think the process was so enriching, especially when we had the opportunity to go to 10 Downing Street, which, unimaginable, unforgettable experience. But undoubtedly there was a lot of work involved, and it meant that we really had to grow as a team and sort of decide how we were going to work on things together, especially coming into our year 13, like balancing that with UCAS and things. It was quite an experience, but it was so much fun to work with these guys.
Also, I think if you are working like as a group, something I've learned from our experience is that I think you should actually like go through each paragraph and like do it as a group, like each thing, rather than like usually people would just like be like, oh, you do the first paragraph, I'll do like this paragraph, you do this paragraph. But I think in order to make a cohesive essay is to like make sure everyone's ideas is like in every paragraph and that you've agreed on it, because then therefore like I think it just makes the essay flow better and everyone has like you know, I feel it just kind of, I think that really helps us, because me and Harriet, right before we decided to start writing like two of our main paragraphs, we went through like our economics content and like that we were learning at school, and we're like writing down chains of reasoning or analysis that we could think of related to the gig economy. And I think that helps us really plan out our answer, which was also important because we kind of needed our own ideas and our own thoughts rather than maybe just what we'd find on the internet. I think that added like more uniqueness to our essay.
Yes, I completely agree with Neha. And also, I think that from this experience, we learned so much about how all of us work, because Neha and Harriet had quite a similar working style in the sense that both of them prefer to kind of find information as we went along writing the essay, whilst I chose to research information before and then write an essay. So it's quite interesting learning from the both of them and how we all worked in different styles. And I think that's what really made our essay quite like, it really had all of our styles incorporated within it.
And also I think if you are entering alone, like don't worry about it. There were people who were entering alone like in the finals and they were like really, really good. So it's also something you can do by yourself as well. So yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely up to personal preference. I think, as Meda said and Neha, it was, in our experience, it worked well because we sort of gelled as we were working on the project. And we also, as I said, like grew with our collaborative experiences as we went on. But there was some really brilliant finalists that were on their own. And you can tell that it didn't really matter whether you were doing this from like a group project or from doing it on your own. The level of research was always the same. The level of commitment to the presentation, which you had to do at the end, was always the same. I think in terms of advice for all of you guys who may be entering this competition, just give it your all, because I don't think we could have known at the start of this process just how incredible of an experience it was going to be. Like, as I said, it was just an assignment in my mind until we committed ourselves to it. But the fact that we've had the opportunity not only to go to 10 Downing Street, but we had the opportunity to present our actual passion on an economics topic in front of some of the most inspirational economists in the country, and then be able to talk to them about that, and they were genuinely interested in our opinions. It's truly inspirational.
Yeah.
Yes, just make sure. Go on.
I think especially like if you're like worried about maybe your essay writing skills, or you're maybe like not confident in like I don't think me and Meda or Harriet were confident going into this at all. Like we had no expectations going in. I think it's just as like you go along and like you start enjoying what you're doing. And I think that just needs, like for that to happen, you just need to take the first step. Like just like, you know, decide on a question, get excited about it, and you know, start writing. Yeah.
Yeah, adding on to what Neha was saying, I just think that it's really important to be passionate about what you choose. And it doesn't really matter if you know a lot about it already or if you don't, because as long as you're passionate about it and you really are interested in what you're researching, you'll come through. And I think that's what the judges are really looking for.
Yeah.
And one thing is that we were, I'd say, quite lucky that we managed to get so far into the competition and end up winning it. But it wouldn't have necessarily even mattered if we hadn't made it past the first round, because we learned so much just from that first round. I think we have probably 25 pages of research on, how the gig economy has impacted the more general UK economy. And I'd never have found out any of this information. I'd never have understood any of the long-standing and widespread impacts of the economy if we hadn't done this. I think we've all gained a proper insight into how important economics is in society, and we've seen what economists do now, and it's been really eye-opening for us.
I think like listening to the to the questions that Abby just like explained, I thought all of them were really like relevant and really interesting. So I think it also helps you understand how relevant like economic knowledge is to like the real world, and like that just makes it, I think, more fun to like do. Yeah.
And I also think we learned so many soft skills from this. We didn't just learn about the gig economy, but just our teamwork skills and public speaking skills. prior to the finals, I don't think I ever spoke in front of an audience that big, and it was quite unnerving. But now I think next time, if I ever were to do something like that, it would be a bit more easier, and just it really helped just push us past our comfort zones and learn new skills.
Yeah.
Did we answer any of the questions in the chat or not?
Amazing. So we've got some brilliant questions already in the chat. I am trying to answer them as we are going.
Okay.
But thank you so much, girls, for your insights there. Obviously, you had an amazing time, and you got a lot from it, and that's what we wanted to hear from you, really. And your insights and your advice have been really, really helpful. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we move on to a little bit of advice from Discover Economics?
I think in general, just like, I don't know. I think the main thing that helps us is just really like trying to connect even if you haven't studied economics, maybe like do a bit of research on like main themes that you might study, like say in A-level. It doesn't need to be super like high end like topics that you might study at uni. It just needs to be like simple like theories that you can Google and find out about. But I think just incorporating the economics theory and connecting it with the topic is like the main thing the judges are looking for. Like you're trying to, not just maybe, I think it's just having like a unique point and unique side to your question as well.
Yeah.
Right, and one question for you guys in the chat was, what other supercurriculars did the girls do? So some people just thinking about those UCAS applications or those job applications. What else do you get involved in, if anything else?
I economics, this whole competition has been so different from everything else I do. I'm going to, I got a place to study French at Oxford, so I'm going down a completely different route. And my supercurriculars are based around musical theatre and all sorts of things. So that, I mean, you can probably see where the creative industry came into where we wanted to tackle this topic. But yeah, everything I do in my life is completely unrelated to economics.
Same with me. I've applied to study geography, so it worked along with the course I was going for, but a lot of my supercurriculars are geography related.
So I applied for PPE, so it has some economics in it. And other things I did, I honestly can't remember. Wait, let me think. I did do another essay competition. I attended a few like online webinars which lectures by different like economists, and those were really insightful. Like if you find a topic that you're interested in, I always recommend just like there's this website called londonlectures.com, and it just has like from different unis to just post like what lectures they might be running, and LSE does some really good ones for economics, so I recommend watching those. What else did I do? I mean, I know some of my friends did like some work experiences, because I think there's lots of like finance companies that might do it, but apart from that, like books, there are loads of economics books. Sorry, I can't answer it properly. I completely forgot.
No, that's really helpful.
I was just going to add on to what Neha was saying about like kind of economics supercurriculars. I'd say that all the big, like if you're going into like accounting or banking, if you're thinking of doing that, all the big for companies or the big investment banks do hold work experiences. So you do have to like apply for that kind of early in the year, or some of them do hold online ones as well. So I think PwC does one in like July. So if that's kind of what you're looking for, you could kind of apply to that as well.
Fabulous, thank you so much. Go on, Neha, last bit.
Sorry, the last one. I just remembered. I attended like this. I think Cambridge hosted it or something. Like this online reading summer school thing where we kind of they gave us like an extract of a book to read, and we just come in and discuss it. So any opportunity that your teachers might send you or like that you find online, I'd always just recommend like applying, because you never know that it might be really helpful or useful. So, but also don't stress too much. Just do what you're interested in.
Another question for you guys was, how long did the process of finding the information take before writing? Might be one for you, Meta, since you wanted to find the information, whereas the others were keen to just get on with it. But yeah, like what was your sort of planning process like?
We kind of went down two different routes. So it was actually a bit chaotic. I think I started out first by I think I spent a good 3-4 hours just finding information and then just putting it all on a document. And I think then Neha and Harriet looked through it and decided what parts they thought would be good with the chains of reasoning they came up with. And then whilst writing the essay, they kind of incorporated that when we were going through the whole writing process.
I think a lot of research came.
Oh yeah, sorry.
Like, sorry. After Meta's research, I think a lot of it, and the main bulk of it, did come while we were writing the essay. Like,
Yes.
as we were writing it, we were like, okay, so if we want to explain this point, we need like maybe an example. Then we'd go research that. But yeah, personally, like Meta said, I usually find research as I go along. But yeah,
I think our experience is probably testament to the fact that we'd you don't have to be ready to do this to apply for the competition, because we had far from perfected a way of doing the research and doing the essay. Yeah, I still feel so bad, because we had, I think a big piece of advice I'd say is don't delegate too early. Look at the topic as a group. If you're doing it as a group, if you're doing it on your own, you're fine, you can figure it out. But don't delegate too early. Look at the topic together, decide what action needs to be done. Because poor Meta did some brilliant research and we didn't even get to use it in the end. It was a lot of research, as that we also did as a group. And I think because, yeah, Neha and I did the research at the same time, I think it sort of compounded into the amount of hours that we spent writing. But I would say it was upwards of 10 hours. It was quite a lot.
Great.
Don't be daunted by that fact. Like, you have quite a while to write it anyway.
Yeah.
And also,
on that,
like,
sorry to interrupt there. On that, I did just get a brilliant question that was asking about clarity on the deadline, and it is actually the 29th of June. Apologies, that's just my fault for saying the wrong thing. The 29th of June, not July, but you do still have ages because it is the 1st of April today. Meta, do you want just to say one final thing, and then we'll move on because I'm conscious of time.
I was just going to say that after we kind of worked together on the essay, it made it easier going into the finals, because I then understood that Neha and Harriet had more of a research along the way approach. And then for the finals, I kind of adapted that, and then it was much quicker to get all the information down. So I think just knowing how all the members of your team work is quite a good way to go forward.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. I do still have a few open questions. I'm going to answer a few of them now as I'm speaking, and just going to go through a little bit of advice from us at Discover Economics. But thank you so much to the girls from Tiffin Girls, really worthy winners last year, and we were really proud to see what great things you're going on to, and variety as well. It's brilliant to see that even if economics isn't necessarily the way you're going to go with your life, this competition just opens doors for you. I know that like some of you have been in touch with some of the judges, and there's work experience opportunities for some of the finalists, and obviously the trip to Downing Street and the Treasury was quite a nice bonus as well. So just a couple of questions. The first one I want to clarify is about groups. So you can enter either as an individual or in a group of up to 5, and you don't have to all go to the same school. You can join up with people from other schools. In fact, we encourage that. We like to see the diversity and the collaboration. So group submissions, it's quite easy to understand how you would do a group submission on the form. So basically you just choose one person who will be the team leader, but they don't really have to do anything. They're just the person who uploads the file, and everybody else will just enter the form themselves, and then it all gets matched up on our end. But if you do have any questions, I've put my email address in the Q&A, so just send me an email at any time. Other questions about the finalists. Are there a group of finalists or just the one? So we choose 5 finalists after the marking process. There's actually 25 people who receive commended entries. So they're ones that we want to acknowledge have done a really good job, but they're not the finalists. You get sent a certificate if you are a commended entry. If you're a finalist, that means you were the best one who answered your question. So there's 5 questions and we choose 5 finalists. They might be an individual or a group, as we had the 3 girls as the finalists for their question. So there's 5 finalists, 5 groups of finalists who are then invited down to Downing Street and the Treasury. We do a great day out there. I think you actually saw Keir Starmer last year, a brief glimpse of him as he was walking around. And then at the Treasury, the last couple of years, we've spoken with Sam Beckett, the chief economist, and she's given some fabulous advice about careers and diversity and just the many different paths that economics can take you on. So just in the last few minutes, because I am conscious of time, I'm just going to go through a little bit of advice from us at Discover Economics. And the first one is just to not make it too complicated. We've had a question about essay skills and people who don't really write essays. There's a good chance you don't write essays because you might be in year 10, or you might have chosen things for A-level or equivalent that don't require you to write essays, and that's absolutely fine. We don't really want to see very formal really serious essays anyway. We'd quite like to see blogs, interesting styles, but keep that core economic content. So the main thing is to make sure your economics is really sound. The essay itself, we're not too fussed on the structure of it, to be honest. But what you can do is go to our blog on our website and you'll find all of the 5 finalist essays that they wrote for the final. So they might not have put an essay in at first, they might have done a video, but then when it gets to the final, they write it up just so the judges can compare them all. So hopefully that answers that question about essay skills. It is important to take care with your references and sources. Someone asked in the questions, can we use AI to find references and sources? That is fine, as long as you are then referencing properly and all your ideas are your own, because as I've said, we will put that through an AI checker. You will get caught out anyway if you're just sort of using AI to write it for you. But that's absolutely fine to use it to find yourself some information. We've also got, it's really important that you have a unique perspective. So try not just to regurgitate things that you found on the internet. Sorry, because we're going to read lots of these. Last year we had 2,000 submissions, and that was 2,700 students when you take into account all those groups. So sometimes they can become a little bit repetitive. The best thing you can do is to come up with something that's a little bit unique. So, but that doesn't just mean that like your video is fantastic or your podcast is really creatively made. It's about your economic theory. So make sure that you're coming up with something that in terms of the economics that will then really stand out to the judges. The judges like to see a diversity of views. So as I've said, if you're in a group, it might be great for you to join up with some people from another school. If you're a private school student, you might want to join up with a state school student and vice versa, because we just want to see as many different types of people involved as possible. But as someone asked, is there any disadvantage? No, we mark these anonymously. We don't see your school, we don't see your name, we don't see your gender when we're marking these. All the judges get is a link to your entry and a random number that I assign to your entry. And finally, the last one from me, I will have a look at some of these questions because we've got about 2 minutes left, but the last piece of advice from me is about just make sure you sign up to our social media. We're going to be putting out hints and tips as we go along, and our newsletter, because that's where you'll find out whether you've been successful. So over the summer, when we've done that marking process, we'll send out a newsletter probably at the start of September, and that will have the finalists and the commended entries on it. So I'm just going to share my screen for a second and show you a little bit of information from one of our sponsors, and this is the Financial Times. So the Financial Times is where you will be published if you are the winner of the competition, and they've just told us a little bit of information that might help you. So you are able to access this information for free if you're a secondary school student or you're a high school student, within that age bracket of sort of 16 to 19. And teachers and schools can access it as well. So if you're a little bit younger and you're trying to access it, you might want to ask your school, because it's free access to lots of resources. There's loads of benefits for you there. Lots of curriculum support. There's mapped to different curriculums and to different exam boards. So regardless of whether you're doing the IB or GCSE, you might find some really interesting tools for you there. There's some games on there and lots of special content as well. You can sign up using that link on there, and I'll put that in the chat in a moment. So it's just a little bit of information from FT Schools. We will also be sharing some resources over the next few weeks that might help you to guide you to structure your answer. So if you're feeling a little bit like, I'd like to enter, but don't feel that confident, then just wait a few weeks. We'll send it all out on our newsletter and we'll send it all out on our social media, and it will sort of guide you through that process of building your answer. So I have 1 minute left. I'll try and answer these. If I don't answer yours, then I will put all that information onto the website as well. So we do have a frequently asked questions as well. You can find last year's finalist entries on our website on the blog. I will put my email in the chat in a moment. We do compare year 10 essays with all the way through up to year 13 because we don't consider age. We do this anonymously. However, there is kind of a level playing field because this is about your ideas and your research. So it doesn't really necessarily matter whether one person's doing economics A level because they don't really match the questions anyway. So it's about, you know, how you feel about it. And as the girls said, how passionate you are about the subject that you've chosen to answer. Our social media handle is @Discover Economics for most social media platforms, Instagram, X and things like that. You don't actually have to sign up. You just have to submit using the form on the website by the 29th of June. Okay, so we're getting there through these. And if you submit a video, you don't also have to write an essay, no. It's one video and some references. There's no essay to write unless you've progressed to the final, in which case we'd ask you just to sort of write your ideas down in a blog form as well. Okay, unfortunately, you can't team up with someone outside of the UK because we need all students to be studying in the UK. And there is no advantage if you don't study economics because, as I've said, this is all anonymous. So I'm now going to end the webinar because it's 5:30 and I know you've all got plenty of things to do on this lovely afternoon. I will put my email address in the chat and it is available on our website as well. So please do get in touch if I have not answered your question, but anything that I think I've missed, I will also put on our website in the frequently asked questions. Oh, that was quite quick. So thank you so much to the girls from Tiffin Girls. You did amazing and really helpful advice there. And I can't wait to see all of your ideas in the competition. And good luck. Anything you need, drop me an email. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.